warrior. By night, I glide unseen across the rooftops, watching my enemies from the shadows. By day, I go to Jersey Mike's, watching someone freshly slice my sub. My blade is called Shatter. His blade is a Berserba brand meat slicer. Clearly, I have much to learn about this land. Freshly sliced just for you. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Sticks. The Hits, live at Celebrity Theater. 2 shows, February 26th and 27th. Tickets on sale now at celebritytheater.com. A trip through all their best. Don't miss Sticks Live. Produced by Danny Zalisco Presents.
Neon City Festival takes over downtown Las Vegas with art, food, and free performances by Alice in Wonderland, Neon Trees, Russell Dickerson, Seven Lions, and more. November 22nd through the 24th. Visit neoncityfestival.com.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe, Phoenix, and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale, Phoenix. It's the lunch break.
Middle of the week, the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert with you here, Wednesday edition of the program. We've got Cardinals game coming up on Sunday that we'll start to get into here today on the show. MLB Hot Stove, college football playoff poll, some Suns conversation, just a lot going on and a lot of positive going on in the Arizona sports landscape with our teams right now. And teams that are playing well and giving us some optimism for the future. We will get into some of that here on the show today. If you want to join the conversation, 480-864-1060, the new phone number for you to join the conversation at any point during the next 2 hours. We've got you up until 1 o'clock today. It's weird. There's not a lot of refreshing of Twitter anymore today here on the show. NFL trade deadline has passed. And there's not a whole lot that can happen now in the NFL. The team that the Cardinals have assembled is the team they're going to go to battle with for the remainder of the season. And that is today's Daily Special.
Time for our top story of the day. It's the Daily Special.
Yeah, look, normally when we do the Daily Special, I talk over the music and we let it play. But I'm going to fade the music out here because we need to have a conversation about what the Arizona Cardinals did, or I guess didn't do yesterday ahead of the 2 p.m. NFL trade deadline, because they make only one move. The only move that they make is to acquire Baron Browning from the Denver Broncos in exchange for a late day 3 pick. And that was it. That was the assignment that the Arizona Cardinals turned in. That was the report that they turned in, their homework that they turned in. That was what they did. That was what they presented to you, to me, to all of us here in this city, in this state, watching this team. That is what they turned in as their trade deadline move. A 25-year-old pass rusher with 9.5 career sacks, none of which have come this season. And he has missed a bunch of time this year with a foot injury. He's only played in 5 games. That is the move that Monty Ossenfort and company made. And I told everybody in the lead up to yesterday, I told everybody on yesterday's show that it was going to be the start of our show today, no matter what they did. And I was forecasting that it was going to be a negative conversation for us to start the show today. And there was a lot of negative in general today. There's a lot of negative when it comes to the Cardinals today. There's a lot of positive when it comes to the rest of the season for the Cardinals. There's a lot of positive when it comes to the Phoenix Suns. There is some positive, but you can't help but start with what was inactivity by the Arizona Cardinals at the trade deadline. And this goes back to a decision that Monty Ossenfort and the front office clearly decided to make. They looked at where this team was at right now. They looked at being 5-4, being in first place, having a playoff spot, playing good football, the easiest schedule the rest of the way in all of football, 1 game against a team with a record above 500, stuff we've litigated here on the show in the past. Stats we've thrown at you of what this team has done so far and what is on the table for them to do in the second half. And Monty Ossenfort and this front office took that information. They took the data points that they clearly have. They took the film that they are clearly watching. They looked at the market. They looked at what the Giants were asking for Azeez Ojulari. They probably saw what the Browns were asking for Zadarius Smith, and the Packers were asking for Preston Smith, and they made phone calls and talked to different teams and had conversations, but ultimately came back to the place of they did not want to stray from the course that they are on. And when Monty Ossenfort got here and Jonathan Gannon got here, they clearly had a plan. And that plan was as follows. Year one, you have to get in here. You have to gauge where it's at. You have to gauge which players are we building around, which players are foundational pieces that we want to keep with our regime. Because anytime a new GM, a new coach comes in, there's a cleaning house. There's a cleaning house of personnel people. There's a cleaning house of coaches. There's a cleaning house of players that don't fit with play style, with culture, with vision, whatever the case may be. That first year, a general manager and a coach come in and they instill a culture, but they also are evaluating. They're evaluating everybody in the organization. And specifically, they evaluate the players that are on the roster. Which players that are here long-term do we want to be here long-term? Which players are free agents that we want to bring back? Which players are free agents that we are comfortable with letting go? That first year is an evaluation year. It's like when somebody takes over in upper management at your job, they come in, they want to get a lay of the land. All right, Tim in accounting, what do you do? All right, Dave in sales, what do you do? You get a gauge of what the organization is about. You get a gauge of your players. You get a gauge of your infrastructure. And then as you enter year two of that process, you start to be able to put your fingerprints on an organization. You start acquiring free agents that are in line with your vision. You spend draft picks that are in line with your vision. You make trades that are in line with your vision. You make hirings that are in line with your vision. You start putting your fingerprints onto this organization. You start to craft a vision of what you want this team to look like. Okay, we had issues. We want to run the football really well. Our guys up front, not that great. We're going to make some wholesale changes to the offensive line. Need to bring in another running back. Okay, defensively, we aren't getting enough pressure on the quarterback. Let's get some pass rush help, but also secondary, a little suspect. These are things that organizations do. They evaluate their roster, and then they determine what avenues they can pursue to fit this team more into their vision. And then year three, when you get a second offseason to invest money, to invest draft picks, to make trades, to make waiver claims, to tinker and retool and move your roster around, that's when you hope that you have poured enough rocket fuel into the rocket, into the jet, so that it takes off. And Monty Ossenfort made a bet. And the bet that he made by not making a bigger move than Baron Browning is that he thinks this plan is going to work. That he thinks that year three, the rocket fuel is going to fill up the tank and this team is going to take off. And he is not going to have sacrificed the future in order to fill the present. He feels extremely confident in this team right now can continue to play this type of football and they can hang around and be in the mix. Although I don't know if that's a good enough expectation at this point with where this team currently sits. You're 9 games into the season. You're holding on to a playoff spot. Fans, rightly so, are starting to get excited about the idea of this team playing in a playoff game. And so if you miss that mark and you do so because of something that was controllable at the trade deadline, I don't know what type of grace you're going to get. But that's the bet that Monty Ossenfort has made. He made the bet. He took the chance that his original plan, the original plan that him and Jonathan Gannon put together when they got here, year one, evaluate. Year two, start to fill up the tank. Year three, the jet takes off and is fully loaded, ready to go. They are still hopeful that that plan is the best thing for them long-term. And they were not willing to mortgage any of that to try to help now. They traded a late day 3 pick to add a depth piece to their pass rush group. They believed in that, and they believed in Darius Robinson being able to come back to this team and make an impact as a rookie. We'll see. We'll see if that bet was the correct bet. We will see if this team is able to hold on to their current position. If they don't, and it's for a lack of pass rush or because the defense falters a little bit, we are going to look back to this trade deadline and say, you had your chance. You had your chance and you missed. It doesn't mean we're going to run Monty Ossenford out the door, but it would be a first major misstep, I think, for Monty since getting here. And we would file that away as he enters year 3. So disappointed is the word that I would use. Frustrated is the word that I would use. I think they missed an opportunity. I think they missed a chance to really solidify their position. I know they're not like this team, but the Washington Commanders solidified their position yesterday. They made a decision to push some of the chips into the middle because they got a team that's 7-2. Wish the Arizona Cardinals would have done the same thing on maybe a little bit of a lesser scale. But there was opportunity out there, and they didn't do it. We'll turn the page. Week 10 is next up for the Arizona Cardinals. It is the New York Jets that are on tap. We'll take our first look at them next on the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
We'll do what's best for the team, and we'll do what's best for you.
The Rich Eisen Show coming to you weekdays from 3 to 5 p.m. here on KDUS AM 1060 and KDUS1060.com. When you make the choice to foster, you have the power to make an impact greater than you ever expected. The support you give a child, when you provide them with a healthy and loving environment to grow, has a ripple effect that positively impacts everyone they come in contact with throughout their lives, creating a better community for the future. That's the Foster Effect. Learn more about foster parenting at azdcs.gov/foster effect. azdcs.gov/foster effect.
Ghost World Tour 2025. Ghost Theatrical Heavy Metal Arena Rock. August 11th, Footprint Center. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Ghost.
The Mitsubishi Year-End Sales Event is going on now at Scottsdale Mitsubishi. Right now, you can receive 0.99% APR for up to 60 months on the 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander and Outlander Plug-in Hybrid. That's right, 0.99% for full 60 months and 90 days no payment.
And bring down your trade to receive up to $1,000 trade-in bonus cash on select models. Come see why Scottsdale Mitsubishi is your official inflation-fighting dealership. The name to remember, Scottsdale Mitsubishi, Scottsdale Mitsubishi.
Another Mark Auto Group dealership.
Planning to propose this holiday? Shane Company is ready to help you find your dream engagement ring. We handpick the most beautiful diamonds and colorful gemstones in all shapes and sizes. So when you walk in the door, you can trust your rock is in stock. At Shane Company, we've always sourced directly, cut out the middleman, and pass the savings on to you. We work with your budget, not against it. We'll also protect your ring for life with our free unmatched lifetime warranty. Come see us at shaneco.com and in store. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
James Out West brings NFL, NBA, MLB, and local sports talk to you Monday night starting at 7 on KDUS AM 1060 and the KDUS 1060 app.
Welcome back to the program, The Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. 480-864-1060 is the phone number. Sure, you have plenty of thoughts on what the Cardinals did and did not do yesterday ahead of the NFL trade deadline. But we will leave that in the past unless you want to join the conversation. Again, 480-864-1060. We will turn the page here and start our first look at the upcoming opponent for the Arizona Cardinals. And it's a team that I am very familiar with. It's a team I grew up rooting for. I don't want to admit that I still watch them and root for them now because they're kind of the laughing stock of the league. It's easy when you're a kid. You just blame it on your parents. You blame it on mom. You blame it on dad for raising you in that environment. At some point, you got to take ownership of still rooting for a team. And I guess I will with the New York Jets because that's who's coming into town for the Arizona Cardinals this week. And the Jets are one of the rare teams. The reason why we do this first look at a team is because we understand paying attention to the Cardinals. You don't have a chance to maybe watch the Bears all year round or to watch the Chargers or to watch these teams and have a intimate knowledge of what they do, what their strengths are. So we do the deep dive, we do the work, and we try to give you a little bit of a primer so that you You maybe sound a little smarter with some buddies. You maybe take this information and you look at some betting markets. Well, whatever you do with this information, we want to inform you. The New York Jets are just so in your face on the national level with all of the national games that they play, with all of the talk that they get on radio shows, on television shows, on podcasts, that it's kind of hard to not see what the Jets are this year. And what they are is a 3-6 football team that just snapped a 5-game losing streak last Thursday when they defeated the Houston Texans at home on Thursday night. But we are still going to do the process. We are still going to do the work here and tell you what you need to know about this team, because this is a Jets team that, despite having a healthy Aaron Rodgers, we'll put healthy in air quotes because he's dealing with coming off of the Achilles, his ankle's been acting up, knee, hamstrings. He's had a lot of stuff. I think he's relatively healthy, but he is still banged up, and he's 40, about to be 41 years old. They have a healthy Aaron Rodgers. They have all of those skilled position players. They have Garrett Wilson. They have Devontae Adams. They have Breece Hall. They have that elite defense. And with all of that combined, they are still statistically the same team they were in 2023, the same team they were in 2022, same team they were when Robert Saleh was still the head coach, the same team they were when Zach Wilson was their quarterback. It is statistically kind of jarring to see where this team is at. Offensively, 25th in points per game. They don't even hit the 20-point mark, 19 points per game, 25th in the league. 24th in yards per game at 308.7. 23rd in yards per play. They're 19th in touchdowns per game, and they're 13th in red zone scoring. That's what their offense is. You go and break it down by rushing or passing, it gets even worse. Rushing, 27th in yards per rush, 31st in rushes per game, 30th in rush yards per game, a bottom of the league running game with a organization that invested a lot in their offensive line. They brought in John Simpson. They brought in Tyron Smith. They brought in Morgan Moses. They made investments with Elijah Vera Tucker in the draft and Olu Fashanu in the draft, and they've invested a lot in that offensive line. They have Breece Hall. They have tried to rework that group so that it is a strength, not only to protect their 40-year-old quarterback, but also to free up Breece Hall to make big plays. Statistically, it's not there. Passing-wise, it's no better. 27th in completion percentage, 22nd in yards per pass. Just a not good group offensively. And defensively, it's what you would expect. 10th in opponents' points per game, 4th in opponents' yards per game, 1st in opponents' yards per play, 12th in red zone scoring, 6th in opponents' touchdowns per game. They are exactly what they were in 2023 and 2022. It hasn't looked pretty at times. They've taken a step backwards at times, but statistically, this is a top 10 defense. In some categories, a top 5 defense. This is who they have been since Robert Saleh took over as the coach, since they brought in all this talent, and they continue to be that group. And so they are getting similar results. Take away from it that Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. Take away from it that Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson are there. Take all that off the table. They are running a similar offense to when Zach Wilson was there, and they're running a similar defense to that era. And they sit at 3-6. Their 3 wins, they beat a Texans team that feels a little bit like a paper tiger with their record. And their other 2 wins are against the Titans and the Patriots early in the season with 2 teams that have rookie head coaches. So a team that is starting to try to gain some momentum, didn't make any moves other than trading Mike Williams, which felt like a formality after acquiring Devontae Adams, so not a signal of them selling. They got calls about DJ Reed. They said thanks, but no thanks. So they are a team that thinks that they can go on a run, and this game cuts both ways. If you're the Cardinals, you look at this game and you say, we get to play the lowly Jets, the Jets who are 3-6, the Jets who are underperforming, the Jets who can't stop the run. There's one leak on their defense. It's their run defense. 28th in rushes per game, 21st in rush yards per game. Not a good group in that regard. But that's where you can attack them. That's the strength of the Cardinals. So if you're the Cardinals, you look at this and say, we're catching this team before they've started that run. You can't say that they've started that run after one game. They are still looking to go on that run. They're still a team that's trying to figure things out. They have a bad run defense. They haven't done a good job of protecting the quarterback. So even though we don't have the talent advantage when it comes to pass rush versus their offensive line has been suspect. So maybe this is an opportunity for us to put some stats up on the board, to follow up what we've been doing the last 3 weeks. That's the way the Cardinals look at it. And if you're the Jets, you look at this and you say, okay, we beat the Houston Texans. We're now traveling on the road. We're not scared of this Arizona Cardinals team. We're not scared of Kyler Murray. We think our defense will be able to contain him. We believe our corners will be able to match up with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride, and we'll have an answer for what they want to do. We might get beat up in the running game, but we've been getting beat up in the running game all year, and we found a way to keep games competitive, and we think there's momentum coming out of the Texans game. Both teams could look at this as an advantageous matchup. Both teams can look at this and say, if you're the Cardinals, this is a continuation of this 3-game stretch, and you'll make it 4 in a row. Going into your bye, you'll feel really good about things. And if you're the Jets, you look at this game and you say, this is our opportunity to make it 2 in a row and start a streak of our own. It's fascinating that both teams are probably looking at this game as a great time to play the other team. Because even though the Cardinals are riding high, the Jets would look at this and say, we think we figured something out against the Texans. We can get right back at it against not a top opponent. They certainly weren't a top 10 team for our NFL power rankings, just on the outside looking in. And if you missed that, you can go listen to it back in the podcast feed. Just search The Lunch Break wherever you get your podcasts. But not a top 10 team for me entering week 10. Close, right on the outside, but close. And so you could look at this as the launching pad to starting a run of your own. And for the Cardinals, you look at this as playing the Jets. They're 3-6. Every time they've given us a glimmer of hope that they're going to live up to the national media narrative that everybody's been talking about, they take a huge step backwards. They lose to the Patriots. They lose to the Bills. They lose to the Steelers on Sunday night. They're due to just fall right back into the pit, right back into the hole. And so both teams can look at this. Both teams can look at this game as an advantageous situation. It's just a question of which version of the Jets show up. And I think now I feel pretty confident at the version of the Cardinals that we're going to get to show up. It's been pretty consistent the last month or so. They are finding their groove. And so the question you have to ask yourself is, do you feel confident about the Cardinals being able to run the football against one of the worst run defenses in the league? Do you feel comfortable with your defense going up against statistically one of the worst offenses in the league so far? A team that is not passing the ball extremely well. A team that is non-existent running the football. This feels like a great matchup for the Arizona Cardinals, which is why we keep going back to why didn't they do anything at the deadline? Part of their easiest schedule in the second half, or the easiest schedule remaining here after week 9. It's in large part because of games like this. Because I don't think people are fully bought back in, nor should they be, to the New York Jets until they start a run. Now, beating the Texans and the Cardinals, is that going to inspire confidence if they were able to do so to get to 4-6? I don't know. But if they are going to make the case that they can go on a run, even at 3-6, to put themselves back in the AFC playoff picture, and they certainly think they can because they didn't make a move at the deadline. So this feels like desperation time for them. That's the other layer to this. Statistically, I can talk until I'm blue in the face of what the Jets are or aren't this year and what the Cardinals are or aren't. The Jets have a strong smell of desperation right now that doesn't hit a lot of teams this early in the season, but it is hitting the New York Jets. And so will they come with that desperation? Will they come with that inspired effort here on Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals? Don't know. I'll be in attendance. I'll get a nice front row. It's not really front row. I'm not sitting front row, but a nice up-close view of this matchup. And it's not going to be a part of the Schubert 6, so I feel comfortable talking about it now. I would pick the Cardinals in this game. I'm not sold on what the Jets did on last Thursday against the Texans. I think it was a flash in the pan. And statistically, I think this is a decent matchup for the Arizona Cardinals. I've picked the Cardinals to lose games where the matchups were much worse than this. These matchups are somewhat favorable. So I'm going to feel pretty good about where I would be if I was the Arizona Cardinals. And we'll continue to preview this throughout the week. I'm sure tomorrow when we hear from the opponent, I'll have some Aaron Rodgers cuts for us to dive into, because he's always the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to media narratives and quotes for us to discuss. So probably do that again like we did last week for the Bears. We'll probably do that again tomorrow for the Jets. Coming up on the other side, the hot stove is officially open. So have we learned anything from the GM meetings thus far? That's next on the lunch break. KDUS AM 1060.
Carving out time in your afternoon for the Doug Gottlieb Show right here on KDUS AM 1060, 100.7 HD2, and KDUS1060.com. Weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m.
Here in Flagstaff, Arizona, there are only two colors that matter: blue and gold. Head coach Brian Wright leads NAU football into a new era.
Down the sideline, it's going to be a pick six.
Join us Saturday. The Lumberjacks travel to Cali to play the Cal Poly Mustangs. Our coverage begins at 5 on the NAU Lumberjacks Sports Network.
NAU football on AM 1060 KDUS.
Looking to upgrade your home? The Window Depot is your go-to spot for Milgard windows and patio doors. Select from a variety of styles, including aluminum, vinyl, or fiberglass, to start your journey to a brighter, more beautiful home. The Window Depot has Milgard windows in stock, ready to go home today, or their team can help you with a special order. Whether you're looking for energy efficiency, aesthetic appeal, or custom solutions, they've got you covered. Build the home you deserve with Milgard windows and doors from the Window Depot. Visit thewindowdepot.com to find a location near you.
Let's play Star Radio Jeopardy! The answer is Thomas Crapper.
Who invented the toilet?
Correct. Let's try another. The answer is Parker and Sons.
Who installed Crapper's toilet?
Close.
Who's been the Valley's leading plumbing, drain cleaning, and AC company for over 30 years and won the BBB Torch Award for business ethics?
Correct. Keep yourself out of plumbing jeopardy. Call Parker at 602-2-REPAIR. That's 602, the number 2, then REPAIR for Parker and Sons.
Don't let erectile dysfunction impact your performance. It's a common medical condition, and there's no shame in seeking help. Arizona Urology Specialist. Personal care for life's most personal issues. Visit ArizonaURO.com or call 602-887-2160.
Sticks. The Hits. Live at Celebrity Theater. 2 shows. February 26th and 27th. Tickets on sale now at celebritytheater.com. A trip through all their best. Don't miss Sticks Live. Produced by Danny Zalisco Presents.
The holidays are a magical time to get engaged. At Shane Company, we're here to help you create your dream engagement ring in just 3 easy steps. Choose a setting that speaks to your style. Compare diamonds and colorful gemstones in all shapes and sizes. Then personalize it with a decorative crown and special engraving. Or choose a perfectly preset ring that's ready to go. At Shane Company, you'll find everyday competitive prices, a no-pressure environment, and an unmatched free lifetime warranty. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. For over 35 years, we've grown by offering our clients more offices, more lawyers, and recovering more than $20 billion. Injured? The choice is easy. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Listener rewards for you with the KDUS 1060 app. Download today to hear all of the national and local shows you love. That's the KDUS 1060 app.
Make sure you download the KDUS 1060 app. Your opportunity to listen and win. So do yourself a favor, download the app, register, be logged in. You listen to the show on the app. You have an opportunity to win a Von Hansen's $100 gift card. We pulled a winner on Friday. I believe we'll do that again this upcoming Friday. So you have an opportunity the rest of the week to get over to the app, listen on the app. If you're already listening to the show and you're not doing so on the app, here's an opportunity for you to win. So make sure you download the app in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. You register, you sign up, and you listen for your chance to win a gift card to Von Hansen's, $100. Bryce and Phoenix won last week, so you have an opportunity to win this week. So get over there, download the app today, and you can take the show and the station with you wherever you are. The hot stove has begun in Major League Baseball. As of this moment, Juan Soto can sign wherever he would like. Corbin Burns can sign wherever he would like. These players are available to sign free agency contracts immediately. That's not going to happen. We're not going to get those contracts today. We're not going to get those contracts tomorrow. It's going to take some time. There's going to be some negotiation. But officially, Major League Baseball is open for business. Officially, these moves can happen. Kyle Hendricks signed a 1-year deal this morning with the Angels. So, again, not a big name, but there is activity starting to happen. Free agents are starting to land in some spots. And so figure we would start our little roundup, and we'll do this whenever there's notable news. And I think the opportunity here today is to kind of set the stage. The GM meetings are underway, different than the winter meetings. Just want to make that clear. The GM meetings different than the winter meetings. But I think where, unfortunately, this has to start and end is with Juan Soto. Because Juan Soto is not only a unicorn of a player. Juan Soto is a generational talent. Juan Soto is doing things that we haven't seen since Ted Williams was playing. He's doing stuff that is extraordinary. He, in a walk year, hit over 300 and hit 40-plus home runs and was a major reason why the Yankees went to the World Series. And so there's that. He's a extraordinary baseball player. He's a unicorn. He is offensively one of the best players in all of baseball. And so when you have somebody who is one of the best players in all of baseball that becomes a free agent, that, of course, stop the presses. Everything halts. Remember, the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes froze everything. Toronto was talking to him. The Giants were talking to him. The Dodgers were talking to him. You had all these teams trying to make their pitch for Shohei Ohtani. And so what that does is that puts a hold on everything else. If you're about to spend $700 million to try to acquire Shohei Ohtani, you kind of put on the back burner the $25 to $75 million player that you're trying to acquire, because that's the bigger expense. So it just holds everything up, because if you're going to get Shohei Ohtani, maybe you don't need to be talking to other DH candidates or other starting pitchers, because you're going to bring in Shohei Ohtani, right? But you also know that those other players at those positions want to wait till Ohtani signs to see if the teams that miss out on Ohtani are desperate enough to maybe up their offer a little bit. It now creates a bit of a bidding war. So when you have big-time free agents, and Shohei Ohtani is a unique exception because I just think he brought it to another level. Juan Soto is going to bring it close. Don't get me wrong. But when you have these players that are such unicorns, it changes the dynamics of everything. The MLB offseason is already a slow-moving process. It's not like these other sports where when free agency opens, and the moment free agency opens, it is a frenzy. It is a madhouse. When NFL free agency opens, or when legal tampering opens in the NFL, the floodgates immediately open. Teams start agreeing to contracts with players immediately. Baseball, free agency opened a couple of days ago, and it's not a whole lot's happened. It's going to take time. They don't play on the same level as the other sports do when it comes to their offseason. And their offseason is slow. Their offseason can sometimes be boring. It in recent years, it has started to drag out into January, February, even into the beginning of spring training and during spring training. I mean, how many guys last year signed during spring training or right before the season started? So baseball ends in October, and if the big names are holding out until January and February and March, you're talking over 2 months with not a whole lot of baseball being in the news. And so you have that is caked into all of this. You have these unique unicorn players that slow things down. And I want to get back to Juan Soto because this is the key to the entire offseason. Let's just, for example, throw out the teams that could be interested in Juan Soto. You have the Yankees, obviously. You have the Mets. You have the Red Sox. You have the Cubs. You have the Giants. You have the Dodgers. You have the Blue Jays. You probably have the Texas Rangers. I think you can throw in the Orioles, a team that now has new ownership and could probably spend a little more than they could in years past, and that could open some opportunities. There are a handful of teams that, if they wanted to, have the resources to get Juan Soto. There are 4 or 5 that we know are absolute locks from a resource perspective. Yankees, Mets, Dodgers, Giants. Absolutely. I think the Blue Jays, with what their pursuit of Ohtani looked like, you can throw them into the mix as well. And then there are some other teams that notoriously are big market teams that could spend, like the Chicago Cubs, like the Boston Red Sox. Maybe you don't want to discount the Philadelphia Phillies. There are other teams on the periphery, Texas Rangers. So you have some big market teams with big dollars ready to dance for Juan Soto. They are ready to go to battle. They are ready to box. So you have all these big market teams interested in a player. You have the unicornness, not a word, made it up here on the show, of Juan Soto and his talents. And then add in what is the ultimate caveat on top that I think is going to make this offseason feel slower and feel a lot different. Juan Soto is about to turn 26 years old. It is very rare to have a player that good, that talented, and that young hit free agency. If you sign Juan Soto to a 14-year contract, you're only paying him until he's 40 years old. You're getting the entirety of his peak from age 26 to probably about age 33 or 34. And then you're paying for the decline on the other side, but it's for a handful of years and he could still be a productive player. And you're getting a future Hall of Famer or somebody who's on a Hall of Fame path. That doesn't happen all the time. And so that uniqueness, that talent, the ability of, if you sign him for a 10-year deal, it doesn't matter what the dollar amount is. It's almost assuredly going to be a bargain because you're getting his entire peak at that point, basically. That's going to hold up the market. It's going to hold everything up. It's going to hold up the market for Pete Alonso. It's going to hold up the market for Christian Walker because these teams that miss on Juan Soto might pivot to other bats like a Pete Alonso, like a Christian Walker, like a Paul Goldschmidt, like an Alex Bregman. There is going to be a trickle-down effect. So I think you are going to see. Now, you might see some players want to jump through the wall, and if they get a contract they like, they are not going to try to nickel and dime and try to get every penny possible. If they feel like they are getting a fair offer and it's a place they want to be and it's a city and a team and a situation that feels right for them, they might bust through that wall first and they might sign that contract. I think overwhelmingly this offseason, just like it was dominated by the pursuit of Shohei Ohtani, I think is going to be even more dominated by the pursuit of Juan Soto. I think there are more teams involved. I think the player is different. Ohtani was only going to stay on the West Coast so he could be close to Japan. He was almost assuredly always going to the Dodgers. They were really the only team that could make that money work. It was unique. Juan Soto's different. It's unique in a different way. It's unique in there's going to be a bidding war like we've never seen. There was no bidding war for Shohei Ohtani. There's going to be a bidding war for Juan Soto. How does this impact the Arizona Diamondbacks? It's going to slow everything down. Yeah, you might be able to pick off a reliever when no one's paying attention. You might be able to sign some major league depth for your rotation kind of quietly and in the background. But overall, Juan Soto is going to be the player, is going to be the contract that is going to suck the air out of the room for a really long time until he signs. And he's a Scott Boras client, so he's going to want to get all of his money. He is not going to care if it takes longer than expected. I think teams are going to press him to make a decision quicker than he probably wants to. But I don't think teams are going to do what happened to the Boras 5 last year, where we're talking in February and these guys are still unsigned. I don't think that's going to happen. There's going to be some urgency from both team side and I think from the Boras Soto side to get this thing done sooner rather than later. And once that happens, you watch the dominoes that start to fall. And so The Athletic put together a story of the recap of the updates from the GM meetings and talking about what the Rays are trying to do, what the Royals are trying to do, add a leadoff hitter, and talking about the Orioles being in a position to spend more money and wanting to go out and acquire a starting pitcher. It just feels as if you are interested in offense, if you are interested in improving the output of your team at the DH spot or the outfield spot or the first base spot, the Juan Soto sweepstakes are going to hold everything up for you. And this is where it matters for the Arizona Diamondbacks, because they are trying to play in the waters of signing a DH. They are wading in the waters of trying to sign a first baseman, whether it's Christian Walker or not. They are playing in that pool of players. And I think those markets are going to be slower to develop. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Diamondbacks find a player, offer him a contract. He wants to play here. It's an easy fit. It's an easy sell. Boom. You can very quickly check something off the list. But I just think Juan Soto's presence and Juan Soto's uniqueness is going to hover over the offseason like a cloud. It's good. There's going to be a lot of conversation. You're going to hear a lot of rumors. It's going to be, I think, good for baseball to be talking about Juan Soto for as long as we are. But I do think it's going to impact the veracity that we see other deals. And so if you're the Diamondbacks, I think obviously you're going to check in with all of your candidates for DH, for first base, for outfield, whatever you're doing. But I think if moves are going to come off the board quickly for this team, it's going to be on the pitching side. It's going to be a lot easier to thaw that market out than it is the hitting side. The hitting side is only going to be thought out when Juan Soto comes off the board. And that will open the floodgates for Bregman. That will open the floodgates for Alonso, for Walker, for Goldie. That will start Gleyber Torres. That will start to open up. And not comparing these players to Juan Soto, but I'm just talking about offensive players as a whole. Bats, improving offensive production, I think is going to be holed up because the Mets, if they miss out on Juan Soto, are going to be pursuing other bats. If the Dodgers go for a pursuit of Juan Soto, they might pivot and spend some money someplace else. The Yankees, if they miss on Juan Soto, if he goes to the Mets across town, they're going to have all that money to reinvest. They're going to be major players. It has an impact down the board. It has an impact down free agency. And so as we sit here with things opening, what have we learned? Status quo. As Juan Soto goes, the offseason's going to go. We will see if anything bucks that trend. We will see if anything changes that tide. But for right now, Juan Soto is going to be the thing that holds up this offseason. Coming up, we will wrap up hour number 1 of the program. The first college football playoff poll was released last night. Is there anything for us to be angry about? We'll get into that on the other side. It's the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
Have you downloaded the KTUS 1060 app yet? Download today and get all of your favorite local and national shows right on your phone.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. And see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona. Terms and conditions apply.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. Award based on 2024 models for J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study Award information. Visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Silverado, Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 22.2%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Taking retail delivery by 12/2/24.
Interstate Batteries. Outrageously dependable. Life is full of questions. Is the presentation ready for work tomorrow? Why is there so much traffic at 3 p.m. on a Tuesday? Are your in-laws visiting this weekend or next? You've got plenty of things to worry about. Whether your car will start shouldn't be one of them. With an outrageously dependable battery under your hood, you can cross one of those questions off your list, which gives you time to answer more things like,
are we there yet?
Interstate Batteries, delivering the most trustworthy source of power to the world since 1952.
Football fans, it's Mellow Monday, so join the Rooster at Mellow Mushroom off the I-17 and Happy Valley Road between 5 and 6 p.m. every Monday night during football season. Ah, yes. Nothing better than the first fresh, hot off the presses college football playoff ranking. Welcome back to the program, the Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. Thank you for joining us here today on your lunch break during our lunch break. And the College Football Playoff Committee, they don't know it, but we have a bit of a feud going on. I don't particularly like them. I'm sure they're not particularly fond of me and the opinions that I have, even though they probably don't know about them. I personally have been anti the College Football Playoff Committee for a really long time. I think they constantly make poor decisions on the margins, which are important in the bigger picture. Because in years past, when it was just a 4-team, everybody would be like, oh, all that matters is 1 through 4 and those first 2 teams out and then who's right on the outside. And so it's really just like the top 10. It's like, no, the entire 25 matter because the process matters. How you got to a certain conclusion with a certain team, because that team's played a team inside the top 10 impacts how you feel about that team. It all matters. How the entire ranking is put together matters. because it directly impacts the rankings of all of these teams. And so when you misrank a team that should be in the top 10 and you have them maybe at 14 or 15, changes the equation of how you feel about a certain team. When you reward a team, even though they have 2 losses because of the conference they play in, and then you don't apply that same logic to another team in that same conference, I can get upset. And so I have always been a champion of the mid-major programs. I have always been a champion of the group of 5. Now, this new 12-team format kind of solves that. The highest ranked group of 5 winner gets into the bracket. And it was Boise State this time around because they ended up at number 12. And so they are the top group of 5 teams. So they are the 12 seed. So right now they would play Ohio State. And so this is how it breaks down. This is how the seeding breaks down, not how they were ranked, but how the seeding breaks down. Because remember, the top 4 seeds have to be conference champion winners. So you have to win your conference. And so this is based on who's leading in these conferences right now. The 1 seed is Oregon. The 2 seed is Georgia. The 3 seed is Miami. The 4 seed is BYU. 5-seeded Ohio State, 6-seeded Texas, 7-seeded Penn State, 8-seeded Tennessee, 9-seeded Indiana, 10-seeded Notre Dame, 11-seeded Alabama, and 12-seeded Boise State. Now, those are the 12 seeds. How did it break down? Well, the real difference here is BYU is ranked 9th, but because they are winning the Big 12, they get bumped up into one of those top 4 spots, because Ohio State is at number 2, but they're not winning their conference. So Oregon, Georgia, Miami are your conference winners right now in air quotes. BYU is the 4th, so they are able to go from being 9th in the ranking to being one of the top 4 seeds. Again, I like rewarding the conference champions. I like rewarding that. I like making that a reason for being a top 4 seed. It gives some representation to, even though you might play in a weaker conference, if you run the table and you go undefeated, you win your conference, you deserve something. You deserve something for that, and a bye in one of the top 4 seeds is certainly one of those things. Boise State, your top-ranked group of 5 team at number 12, so that's how they get in, and there's your top 12. The teams right on the outside looking in. You look at Texas A&M and SMU right there at 13 and 14. And what I find interesting about this is obviously going to change, and I think that's what's so important about this first one, is because it shows us the path, because you start looking and you start saying, okay, who's Oregon got left on their schedule and who's inside the top 25? All right, who's Ohio State got left? Georgia, Miami. Who do these teams play? Do they play any other top 25 teams, so that if these results hold, right now the committee is telling you that they value a 1-loss Big Ten team in Ohio State and a 1-loss SEC team in Georgia, then they do an undefeated ACC team in Miami. That's how they tell you on paper they feel about those 2 teams. Now, when it comes to the playoff, Miami gets in there because they're right now winning the ACC. But they're telling you that Miami loses, all of a sudden not in the ACC, them in Ohio State, they're telling you how they're going to feel. Again, this is why it is important. Where you put these teams tells me how they're going to be able to flip-flop throughout the course of the process. And so this is the first one. You always just take it, you put it up there as a placeholder. You put it up there as the first marker, the first data point, and you see how this plays out over the course of the year. ASU did not get into the top 25. It was something that we were just keeping an eye on. We didn't think they were going to be inside the top 25, but we thought maybe they were right there on the cusp of being in there. And I certainly think with a win this week, they'll get some more conversation. They play Kansas State, who's currently inside the top 20, so there's an opportunity there as well. They have a matchup with BYU late in the season. You certainly think if they win that, they would get into the conversation. So an avenue for them to, in Kenny Dillingham's second season, to go from 3-9 to being in at least the ranking of the college football playoff would be a real nice milestone for Kenny Dillingham. I want to take a quick sidebar here for a second, because I saw a tweet that was pretty interesting. I just went through the whole college football playoff. This is the committee. Now, they use data. They use their eyeballs. They get together. They do these ballots. They came up with this top 12. We'll just do the top 12 because those are the 12 that make the playoff. Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami, Texas, Penn State, Tennessee, Indiana, BYU, Notre Dame, Alabama, Boise State. Those are your top 12, according to the College Football Playoff Committee, because we had to get rid of the computers. BCS had to go. Was bad. Was flawed. Couldn't How could we let a computer tell us who the best two teams were in college football? How could we let this happen? That's not a fair way to determine who should play for a championship. That's not the right way to do things. I saw a tweet that had the College Football Playoff Committee top 12 on one side and what a simulated BCS ranking would look like. I'm going to read you the 12 teams. Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, Miami, Texas, Penn State. So 6 for 6. The College Football Playoff Committee, again, got to get computers out of the process. They can't be here. Their top 6 and a simulated BCS top 6, the same. The same top 6 teams in the same order. The first difference, the College Football Playoff Committee had Tennessee 7, Indiana 8. The BCS, this is why we had to get rid of the computers. They flipped it. Indiana 7, Tennessee 8. Okay, so 8 for 8. BCS, College Football Playoff Committee, looking at the same game. 9 was BYU in both. 10 was Notre Dame in both. 11 was Alabama in both. 11 for 11. The BCS had SMU in over Boise State. The College Football Playoff Committee had Boise State in over SMU as the 12th seed. That's it. The College Football Playoff Committee and the BCS were different on one team. So the BCS was not flawed in the way that everybody wanted to make it out to be. It was flawed in the context of we should have never been just picking 2 teams. If we would have picked 4 or 8 or now 12, the BCS is doing a pretty good job. A simulated BCS, so following exactly what they did in the past and comparing it to the output of the College Football Playoff Committee, which we were told was, so much better. What? This is how you have to do things. You can't let a computer decide who's playing for a national championship. What does a computer know? We got to have people who are using the eyeball test. We got to have people who are watching these games, not just a computer that's taking in data and just spitting out numbers. No, we got to have people that are watching the games. Well, guess what? The computer and the eyeball test, at least right now, pretty close. BCS, 11 of the 12 teams that the committee had in their top 12. The first 6 were the same team, same spot, same order. I think they had 8 or 9 of the 12 teams in the exact same spot. So don't let people tell you that the BCS was bad. The BCS had one problem. They limited it to 2 teams. That was always the problem. The reason why we had to move to the playoff was 1, college football likes money. And 2, because it allowed us to move to at least at the beginning, a 4-team process. If the BCS would have been a 4-team process from the beginning, I don't know if we would have removed the BCS and if we would have gone to a College Football Playoff Committee, because they're also using some of the same data that the BCS is using to come to these conclusions. But it's not a coincidence that the BCS could put together a almost identical output to the College Football Playoff Committee. It tells you that the BCS process was pretty good. It was kind of taking into account things that people thought it wasn't and that you needed actual humans to decide. I just found it fascinating. I saw the tweet earlier today when I said we were going to talk about the college football playoff. And again, as somebody who, I said it at the top, I have a bias against the College Football Playoff Committee. I do not think they are good at their jobs. I think overall, grading them, they are a below average unit. And my main gripe is when they can't explain things. You want to put a team ahead of another team? Just explain it to me. Give me logic that's consistent. They'll tell you one week, well, this team's strength of schedule was really good. And, we put them in front of this. And then the next week, that strength of schedule argument applies for another situation. And then they don't apply that logic. They just remove it. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. And so the thing about the College Football Playoff Committee that bothers me is there's no explanation of this process. And then when they do explain it, they either explain it poorly or it doesn't make any logical sense. And so I think the move to 12 teams is good because it takes at least some of the arguments that I had off the table. You now don't have to debate which conference championship means more. You win one of the major conference championships, you're in there, right? So we don't have to have the argument of, if BYU wins the Big 12, is it as impactful as Miami winning the ACC or Oregon winning the Big 10? Like, we don't have to do that. BYU wins the Big 12. They're going to be one of the top 4 seeds wherever they end up. They're going to get a home. They're going to get a bye, and they're going to be in the final 8 of the college football playoff. And that part I like. That part I can get on board with. The group of 5 representation I can get on board with. But again, how you rank these teams is important. It still matters at the end of the day. And so instead of paying attention to what they were doing with teams like 7 through 12, you now got to pay attention to what they're doing with teams 13 through 20. And which teams are they positioning to leave the door open to down the road moving in? And so now we have the first one done, the first one of the 12-team playoff era. I don't think there's a ton of arguments. I haven't seen a ton of people upset about something so drastically. I don't know if there's anything specific. No surprise, the SEC had 8 teams in the top 25. 4 got into the 12-team bracket. 7 were inside the top 16. So no surprise that the SEC is still getting their due by the committee. Because, that conference really they need a helping hand sometimes to really be ranked appropriately in the college football playoff committee. And I think the other takeaway that you have here too is the committee told you how they feel about certain conferences. That the Big Ten, the SEC, those conferences are weighted higher. And you can't argue with that. And then it's everybody else kind of fighting for scraps. For the ACC, it's just Miami kind of lifting that up. And in the Big 12, it's BYU. But the problem is, it certainly, with BYU being ranked at number 9, and the Athletic pointed this out in their takeaway story, is that if they lose in the Big 12 championship game, it certainly doesn't look like BYU is going to stay inside the top 12. So the Big 12 will only get one team in. They'll just get a Big 12 champion, which I guess is better than them being snubbed altogether like they have been in the past with their Big 12 champion. That would be a step in the right direction for the conference. But we'll see how this process plays out. It's just the first one. It's not the final one. It is a litmus test. It is a marking point. It is a data point for us to see how things change. And then obviously the teams are going to go out there and play football, and that's going to dictate things as well. That's going to change our calculus. Hour number 1 in the books. We got more Monty Ossenfort conversation to get into, a Suns test coming up, and we'll grade Marvin Harrison Jr.'s rookie campaign. All in hour number 2 of the program. The lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
License number 146316.
That's right. As long as it's inspected once a year, if your fire door fails to work as intended, we are responsible. No problem at all. We'll be right out. Jeannie, I want to make a wish.
Hey, Tasha, what do you need?
I wish that... Wait, still blue?
Yes, but still can't do magic since the stupid Genie Eye Council took it away for not having my lamp inspected.
Aw, Jeannie.
Can't get an inspector till next month.
Next month?
How come ASAP is so fast?
Because with our annual safety and adjustment programs, our customers have scheduled inspections every year. No rush needed.
Shucks, you guys are so good at that.
And if any door doesn't work the way it's intended, we are responsible for it.
ASAP, commercialdoors.com.
Tasha.
Yes, Jeannie. What do you need?
ASAP should get certified to inspect magical lamps.
Hey, Portasubs fans, ready for a deal that's big on taste but light on your wallet? Make it a combo for just $2. Just $2 more. You can upgrade with chips and a drink. Get more meal for your money and make your lunch a combo. Head to Portasubs and add chips and a drink for just $2. Offer available for a limited time only. Visit portasubs.com or order on our app.
Sliced fish sandwiches, Portasubs.
subs.
Alaskan AC has been keeping people chill since 1972.
Oh, chill. Cool. I get it. It's a theme.
No, it's not.
It's not?
The theme is 72, as in 1972.
Is that why you dress like that?
$72 for an Alaska vacation.
Ooh.
$72 for a service call.
Neat.
Even $72 off any repair.
Whoa.
This month, it's 72, 72, 72 to celebrate 1972, the year Alaskan AC opened its doors.
And everybody was kung fu fighting.
Everyone was streaking, too. Let's stick to what we do best.
That's right. A $72 Alaska vacation is the perfect way to prepare for the upcoming season. It's so good, we guarantee no breakdowns.
The $72 service call makes it easy to check any concerns.
And saving $72 off any repair means that you can buy one of those cool banana seats for your rad bike.
You have a weird definition of cool.
72, 72, 72. This month at AlaskanAC.com.
This fall, choose Primavera Online, and you'll be choosing a school with flexibility, personalized support, and an award-winning curriculum that's over 20 years strong. Now enrolling grades K to 12 at chooseprimavera.com.
AM 1060 KDUS Tempe Phoenix and KSLX HD2 Scottsdale Phoenix.
Hour number 2 of the program. Welcome back to Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060. Listen to us on the app, on 1060, joining us in the YouTube side of things. We appreciate you however you are consuming the show today, joining us on your lunch break during our lunch break. I want to get back into something that we talked about in hour number 1, and I want to make a promise to you, the audience, and I hope to be able to hold up the majority of this promise. I want today to be the last day that I really get on the Arizona Cardinals for not making a move at the trade deadline. I might bring it up in the future, but the anger, the frustration that I feel today, I want that to be done today. I want that to be done at the end of this segment. We're going to talk about the Suns here in hour number 2. We'll talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. here in hour number 2. We got the leftovers to close the show. We've got other things to take care of here during this show. So I want this to be the last time that we talk about it. We opened the show with it. I talked about the choice that Monty Ossenfort made, and that's where I want to go with this. Because they did make a choice. They chose between the path of investing in this year while taking a small hit for 2025. And that's the important place. So we'll start there. Any of these trades, there wasn't a move that was made for a player, or maybe a move that wasn't made for a player that was available, that would have broken the bank draft capital-wise for the Arizona Cardinals. There was nothing available or potentially available that would have cost the Cardinals their first-round pick in 2025, their second-round pick in 2025, and I would probably argue their third-round pick wasn't on the table in 2025. So you were dealing from a place of, we're talking about day 3 draft selections. You get compensatory picks when people leave in free agency. You can make trades of players off your roster and get day 3 picks. There's a lot of ways to recoup day 3 draft capital. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about a decision that was made by an organization to hold on to their day 3 draft capital for 2025, for the future, for a season that we don't even know what it's going to look like. We have no idea what the 2025 roster for the Arizona Cardinals is going to look like. Budda Baker might not be on this team next season. Are they going to be able to, in the offseason, acquire that pass rusher that has eluded them? Are they going to be in a position to draft a player like a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Darius Robinson in next year's draft? You don't know how the draft class is going to shake out. You don't know where the Cardinals are going to end up picking. A lot of question marks about where those picks are going to fall, whether or not those picks are of value to the team in comparison to what it could mean for them. What's more likely? You invest a 2025 4th or 5th round pick in a player that helps you in 2024, or that 2025 fourth or fifth round pick turns into a more impactful player for the next season? Where are you going to get more value? Is the player that you're going to get with that draft pick next year going to help you more in 2024 than the player that you could acquire at the deadline for 2024? Where would there be more value? Next year in 2025 with a rookie, or would it have been invested into a established known commodity in the NFL for this run, for this year? You don't know what the schedule is going to look like. Do we anticipate the 49ers to get off to a slow start again next year? Do we anticipate the Seahawks in year 2 of their head coach up there to get off to a slow start? Do we expect the Rams to just quietly go away? I mean, the big thing would be the 49ers. You're in first place in the division. Do we feel a level of confidence that that's going to be the case next year? What's the likelihood that they would see first place by week 9 of the regular season next year? I don't know. I don't know what those odds are. I know they're a lot less than the 100% odds that are right now that the Cardinals are in first place after week 9 going into week 10. Right now, the Cardinals' odds of being in first place, 100%. Guaranteed, known commodity. Next year, at week 9, I don't know what those odds look like. You're probably talking 50-50 at best. They're probably not the heavy favorite to be leading this division by week 9 next year. And so the choice was made to stick with the plan, to stick with year 3 really being the launching pad. Year 1, we're going to tear this thing down. We're going to evaluate. We're going to set up the foundational building blocks for this organization. Year 2, we're going to add to those building blocks. We're going to take a step in the right direction. We're going to win more games. We're going to trend that arrow upward. And then we're going to get to year 3, and that's when we're really going to take off. That's when you're going to see the exponential growth. Right? It's like a retirement account. At first, you retire or you invest in your retirement. You put the money in there, and it's not really growing a whole lot. It's not really building the way that you wanted it to. And then all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, it's like a hockey stick. It just takes off. That's what the Cardinals are trying to do. Year 1, year 2, just those small investments. The $100, $200 a paycheck, just putting it in the 401k, just constant. We're just going to always be there. And then all of a sudden, 10 years into your career, boom, it just starts taking off. That's what the Cardinals are betting on for year 3 or 2025. That's what they're betting on. They're betting on that trajectory where they have an opportunity to continue to invest a little bit, continue to have that investment long-term, continue to be on the trajectory for the hockey stick, but an opportunity to buy some beachfront property came up. So instead of investing $100 or $200 a paycheck, this is a terrible analogy, money, but numbers-wise, but we're just going to go with it. Instead of the $100 or $200 a paycheck, you dump it down to $50 or $75, and you take the other half, and you're putting it into this beachfront property. That's what the Cardinals chose not to do. We're just going to stay the course, just going to continue to invest. Maybe they'll be right. Maybe. Conventional wisdom says that if they continue on this path and they continue to make the good decisions that we've seen them make, they will reap those rewards. But when you're presented with a real, actual, tangible opportunity in front of you for 2024, it just feels like a swing and a miss. And I would classify this as the first huge misstep for Monty Ossenfort. If they make the playoffs, if they play competitive football to the end of the year, maybe it won't be as impactful as I think it's going to be. But I think we're going to look back at this as a failed opportunity for this organization. Coming up next, it's their last home game before a really crucial early test. We'll get into that on the other side. It's the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
I'll turn those picks into gold.
Wall-to-wall NFL coverage and the biggest stories coming to you from 3 to 5 p.m. The Rich Eisen Show here on KDUS AM 1060 and KDUS1060.com.
It's the NFL on Sports USA, and we're at Arrowhead as the Denver Broncos ride into Kansas City to face the Chiefs. The Broncos have Bo under center, and if he takes off running, it's Knicks for 6. The Super Bowl champion Chiefs are working on their title thanks to Hunt, Kelsey, and Mahomes.
And he's going deep, got a man open inside the 10, at the goal line, touchdown! It's a perfect throw from Mahomes.
It's the Broncos at the Chiefs this Sunday on Sports USA.
Broncos Chiefs on AM 1060 KTUS.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you've been injured in a car accident, call America's largest injury law firm. For over 35 years, my mission has been to deliver more for our clients, to deliver more for you. If you or anyone in your family has been injured in a car accident, call us now, as the time to file a claim may be limited. Last year, more clients hired Morgan & Morgan than ever before, protecting America, fighting for you. Morgan & Morgan. Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Every day, safe, prepared, informed. Every day, safety is our top priority. At APS, we consistently make updates to our electrical system to keep our crews and customers safe around electricity. Remember these tips. Put safety covers on wall outlets. Call 811 before you dig to have the location of underground wires marked. And stay at least 100 feet away from downed power lines. For more ways to stay safe around electricity, visit aps.com/brighter.
Teeth are amazing. That's why at Affordable Dentures and Implants, they believe it's time the world sees your smile. With new financing options available, you don't need to wait to get your smile back. 6 practices in the Phoenix area open to serve you. Schedule a free new smile consultation. Call 1-800-DENTURE or visit affordabledentures.com to find a location near you. Services provided by an Arizona licensed general dentist. Affordable Dentures and Implants. Go ahead and smile.
Go ahead and smile.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. Washington quarterback Jaden Daniels has received plenty of credit for his team's 7-2 start, and rightfully so. But this Commanders team is more than just a product of one individual. In just over a year's time, the organization has experienced a historic leadership overhaul. Josh Harris became the team's new owner. Adam Peters named the next general manager. Well-respected defensive mind Dan Quinn becomes the head coach. Former Arizona head coach Cliff Kingsbury joined the staff to run the offense. Without some talented players, a turnaround of this magnitude wouldn't be possible. But that doesn't mean the people behind the scenes don't deserve any credit. For years, this organization was disorganized because of Dan Snyder. Now the team is armed with competitive professionals at every level. And while Washington's young quarterback will demand most of the attention, let's not forget this turnaround started from the top and eventually has worked its way down to the field. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. If you're ever worried about the safety of your home and your family, there's no better time to act than right now. Get 60% off a new Simply Safe security system. Old school alarm systems only kick in once somebody is already inside your home. Simply Safe stops crime in real time. They have something called Active Guard Outdoor Protection. To get 60% off any new system with a select professional monitoring plan, go to simplysafedan.com. That's simplysafedan.com. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Hey, are you a whiskey lover? If so, you have to try the new Keeper's Heart whiskey. Keeper's Heart is one of the first to blend Irish and American whiskey, and it's really good. So good, in fact, Keeper's Heart has been recognized as one of the world's best whiskeys for the way it brings together the boldness of American whiskey with the smoothness of Irish whiskey. It's the perfect matchup. Keeper's Heart is a legend in the making. Trust us, you gotta try it. Drink responsibly.
Check out the Doug Gottlieb Show, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m., right here on KDUS AM 1060.
is the phone number for you to join the lunch break here on KDUS AM 1060. Chris Schubert here with you. We've got you until the top of the hour, 1 o'clock. We've already dove into a lot here today on the show. Going to continue to dive into a lot up until 1 o'clock, a jam-packed edition of the show. We would love for you to be a part of it either via the phone, 480-864-1060, or you can do so on the YouTube side of things. Just hop in the comments. And if your comment is, if it passes the filter, you get on the air. I'll read the comment out loud. We had some Bears fans in the chat last week talking about how the Cardinals were going to win. They were proven right. So you never know who's going to stop by the program. The Phoenix Suns back in action again tonight. They will be taking on the Miami Heat at home. And then they start what I think is our first chance to see this team tested. And we've been making a lot of analogies here on the show today. So let's take another one out for a spin. Producer Dylan might like this one. He's in college. He can probably attest to this one. It's been a while for me, so maybe school's not like this anymore, but I feel pretty comfortable thinking that this is the case. You start a new class. Well, just Econ 101. Sure, just the most generic class of all time. And when you start the class, you have a bunch of lessons, right? You go to lecture, you have some small homework, but you know, it's online. You don't really get graded on the homework. You just have to complete the process. You read some source material. You're learning, right? And then you learn for a couple of weeks, and then on your syllabus there's a date and there's an exam. And the exam is, okay, all that stuff we just taught you for 3 weeks, how'd you do? Did you remember the homework? Do you know how these things work? Do you know about supply and demand? Do you know about all these basic economic terms here at the beginning? So that's what I feel like the early part of the Phoenix Suns schedule or season is like. And that's what I feel like the season at large is going to be like. It's going to be a series of these tests, these challenges. They have been showing up to the lectures. They have been doing the homework, maybe not getting the best grades the entire time, but they've been completing the source material. They've been completing the homework. They've been showing up to lectures. They have been putting in the work before the first exam. And the first exam for the Phoenix Suns is about to come up, in my opinion, because after tonight against the Heat, by the way, are 3-2 to start the year. The Heat are always kind of a thorn in team sides, but feel like a pretty good matchup for the Suns. After tonight, they're going to play 5 of their next 6 games on the road. So a road trip for this team, 5 of 6. So I think after tonight, it's a quick one on the road. It's back for a home game, and then it's 4 in a row on the road. But that's how it breaks down. 5 of the next 6 on the road. And not only is it the first extensive road trip for this team of the year, it is a gauntlet of Western Conference opponents. Here's the 5 teams that they play over those 6 games. The Mavericks, the Kings, the Jazz, the Thunder, the Timberwolves. So hold on. We've got the defending Western Conference champions in the Dallas Mavericks. We have the Minnesota Timberwolves, who swept this team out of the playoffs last year. And we've got the Oklahoma City Thunder, just to name a few. We have the top seed in the Western Conference, 7-0. We have the 6-seeded Dallas Mavericks at 4-3. We have the 7-seeded 4-3 Minnesota Timberwolves. We have the 8-seeded Sacramento Kings. So we're playing all playoff teams in that stretch, other than the Utah Jazz, who are 1-6. So we're going to be tested. And we would make the case here on this show that this is the first true test of this Suns team. This is the first exam. This is the middle of the first quarter of the semester exam to see how they're doing with the source material. How are they doing with the lectures? Are they paying attention? Have they learned a thing or two? Or are they just kind of coasting? This team hasn't had a lot of travel to start the year. Their limited travel has been to LA to take on both the Clippers and the Lakers. So haven't had an extensive road trip like they're going to have during this run. Haven't played a ton of quality opponents here in the early going. Have caught teams at the right time. Caught the 76ers at the right time. Played the Clippers to start the year at the right time. All in all, 6-1 record, the 2 seed in the Western Conference, 1 game back of the Thunder. You're not going to give it back. You're not going to say, oh, no, we haven't really played anybody. Drop us lower in the standings. You play who you play. But not a lot of travel to start the year. Not a lot of quality opponents in that early stage. And we've put this season in the context of redemption. And we've put this season in the context of watch the slow progression over the season. Watch this team and see if they're meeting your internal markers for them, your internal data points for them at certain checkpoints. Christmas, All-Star break, trade deadline. If you want to get more granular than that, end of the first month, end of the second month. But Christmas feels like when everybody else starts to take the NBA seriously and starts to really dive into where teams are, what teams have done in the early stages. So we'll use that one. we've said that these checkpoints are really important because you're then going to compare the next checkpoint to the previous checkpoint. And right now we don't have a checkpoint. I think this might be our first checkpoint. I think the middle of November, after they come back from this road trip where they're playing 5 of 6 games on the road, 4 straight on the road, I believe, that's going to be our first marker to see where they are coming back from that. Are they continuing to play the way that they have been playing, finding ways to win basketball games? It's maybe not the prettiest at times, but they're winning and they're keeping pace in the Western Conference. Or is this where they trip up against the Dallas Mavericks? Do they look like they're not on the same level as the Oklahoma City Thunder, currently the top seed in the Western Conference? These are litmus tests. These are data points that we can add. So this is going to be one of those checkpoints. Personally, I think is going to be the first checkpoint. I don't think we've had a checkpoint yet this season. So this is our first. When this team comes back from this road trip, how do we feel? Do we feel things are going very similarly to the way they were through the first 7 games of the season? Have they taken a small step backwards because of the increase in competition, because it was a road trip, because it was mostly all playoff teams right now in the Western Conference? Did we learn anything from that? Did a glaring hole emerge? Right? Bradley Beal's a little banged up right now. All of these things we can learn, we can gauge from this stretch. And the good thing is they've built up a nice early cushion. Right? They're 6-1 to start the year, and we've talked about it. This has not been pretty. 15-plus point deficits to multiple teams, 18 points to the Clippers, 21 points to the Lakers. The bad fourth quarter against the Portland Trailblazers, needing to win a close one against the 76ers. It's just they haven't all been the same. Now, in basketball, when you play this many games, most wins are not going to look the same, but you want to see some trends. You want to see some consistency. You want to see a style of play that is repetitive. And so far for the Phoenix Suns, it's kind of been a mixed bag. They won that 76ers game. Devin Booker shot 3 of 18 from behind the 3 of 18 from the field, 0 of 6 from behind the 3-point line. So no 2 wins have really been the same for this team. And so they've built up a nice early cushion. And you're starting to see everybody else kind of catch up to this. In the latest ESPN Power Rankings, they were up to 4th from 7th. So a top 10 team going into the last Power Rankings, but moved all the way up to being a top 5 team, a top 4 team in the Power Rankings. And so they've built up that early cushion to where they can withstand maybe a step backwards. They could withstand maybe getting knocked back a little bit. Will they? Or will they show us that they've understood the material? Would they show us that so far through quarter number 1, they're acing the class? Because we've said that while this team is playing good basketball right now, at least winning basketball, it's still a new system. It's still a new coach. There are still new players to gel with, to create that chemistry with. So it is not its final version. It's not where you want to be for the final exam at the end of the semester. And so this road trip, this early test is, I think, our opportunity to gauge where this team's at. If they come through this and they're still the 2 seed and they continue to stack up a lot of wins and it starts to look better, then it's early. It's November. It's going to be the middle of November when we have that conversation. But I think you can start to maybe turn the corner and start to get excited about what this team could be. You go on the road and you take care of the Mavs, you take care of the Thunder, the Timberwolves, you take care of those teams. Yeah, that's going to be a real motivational thing for this market to start to believe once again. And I wondered when it would happen. I thought it would take longer, but you get through this stretch, you pass this test, you go on this road trip, and you come back in a similar spot to where you are right now with maybe some big victories over the Thunder and the Timberwolves, it's going to be something that you can get excited about. So the Heat in town tonight, and then they start this stretch of 5 of 6 games on the road. Their first long stretch like this season. So the Heat tonight, and then they start this stretch. Coming up next here on the program, it is the midway point of the season. There are 8 games to go. So how would we grade Marvin Harrison Jr.'s rookie campaign? That's next here on the lunch break, KDUS AM 1060.
Bringing you the latest sports topics weekly right here on KDUS AM 1060 with me, the Doug Gottlieb Show, 1 to 3 p.m.
Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win, breakaway, pick six, three-point shot, underdog win, buzzer beater, shootout, walk-off, and absolutely every play in between is amazing. From football to basketball and hockey to baseball, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Arizona.
College football fans, Chris Fowler here with the play call. This season, go for Dose with ice-cold, refreshing Dos Equis. It's more than a single play. It's a mindset. Think of it as a 2-point conversion for real life. Taking the risk, making the bold move. Whenever we get the chance to go big, we take it. On the field and off, always go for Dose with Dos Equis.
Enjoy Dos Equis responsibly. Favorite 2024 Dos Equis Lager Especial Beer, imported by Cervezas Mexicanas, White Plains, New York.
Don't let prostate cancer sideline you. Early detection can save lives. Talk to Arizona urology specialists about getting screened. Arizona Urology Specialists, personal care for life's most personal issues. Visit ArizonaURO.com or call 602-887-2160.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. When an injured worker left me a message that said, "You probably won't call me back. I'm just a nobody," I called him right back. Nobody's a nobody, and no one deserves a better firm than you.
When Morgan said nobody is a nobody, I felt like that. And they took care of me, and now we're doing okay. Thank God that I went to Morgan & Morgan.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Unbelievable savings at Superstar Car Wash. Lock in unlimited car washes for just $15 a month with our Clean Plan. Available at any of our 51 Arizona locations or online. Visit superstarcarwash.com for details. Terms and conditions apply.
Shop the best deals of the year during the Living Spaces Black Friday event, where you'll save big on designs for your home. Find sofas for as low as $395, dining sets starting at $295, queen beds starting at $195, and rugs, accessories, and home decor at unbelievable prices. Plus, pay no interest for 24 months on select purchases with your good credit. And get it all before Thanksgiving with free shipping as soon as next day. Only at the Living Spaces Black Friday event.
Living Spaces.
Deftones. North American Tour 2025. Live in Phoenix. Footprint Center, March 9th. With special guests, the Mars Volta and Fleshwater. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Presented by the Big Red Radio.
Hey, Phoenix, Doug Gottlieb here. I'm bringing the best sports talk weekdays to you, 1 to 3 p.m., right here on KDUS AM 1060.
Welcome back to the show, The Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060. We appreciate you making this show a part of your day. Chris Schubert here with you. We've got you until the top of the hour. You want to join the conversation, 480-864-1060 is the phone number. And we've reached the midway point of the NFL season. And this is where you start to see a lot of people give out their meaningless, completely meaningless. These things do not have any impact on anything. They give out mid-season awards. And I saw the athletics story. It's like the third or fourth time I read an athletics story. You can see where I go most of the time for sports news. You can see that one of the pages that I go to almost immediately every day is The Athletic. Spawns a lot of topics here on the show. But they gave out their all-rookie mid-season awards. And listen, you know me. You give me a list. You give me a mock draft. You give me awards, you give me winners and losers, you give me anything that's a ranking of something, I'm interested. I'll click on it, I'll scroll down, I'll look to see if there's an angle that we can take here on the show. I'm interested. And so they did their all-rookie team. And listen, Jaden Daniels was the midseason rookie of the year at quarterback. That should surprise you. But down to wide receiver, they gave the award, the midseason award, all rookie wide receiver, to Brian Thomas Jr. And they gave the runner-up to Malik Neighbors. And then there was a group of honorable mentions, and the first name on the honorable mentions was Marvin Harrison Jr. And so I saw that. Didn't get the first spot. Brian Thomas Jr. got that spot. Malik Neighbors was the runner-up, so Marvin Harrison Jr. not in the 2 spot. Marvin Harrison Jr. as part of the honorable mention. So I thought, okay, national perspective, Marvin Harrison Jr., not one of the top 2 rookie wide receivers. Let's reframe this conversation. Let's have this conversation of how we would describe Marvin Harrison Jr.'s rookie year, because on a national level, compared to some of these other rookie wide receivers, it is lacking. It is not to what Brian Thomas Jr. is doing or to what Malik Neighbors is doing. So I'm going to start here. We're just going to do the statistics. These are your top reception getters amongst rookies. Brock Bowers with 57, Malik Neighbors with 55, Brian Thomas Jr. and Ladd McConkey with 35, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. with 28. So your top 2 are 57 and 50, Bowers, who's just a unicorn, and Malik Neighbors. Marvin Harrison Jr. all the way down to 28. Again, we're just going to present the data, and then we'll have the conversation. So that's receptions. Yards, Brian Thomas is first with 595. Brock Bowers is second with 580. Malik Neighbors is third with 557. Marvin Harrison Jr. is fourth with 445 yards. So amongst rookies, 5th in receptions with only 28, 4th in yards. In touchdowns, this is where Marvin Harrison Jr. kind of makes up some ground. He is tied with Brian Thomas Jr. with 5 touchdowns, leading all rookies. Then you have Ladd McConkey and Xavier Legette with 4, and then Malik Neighbors, Keon Coleman, Xavier Worthy, all with 3. So tops all rookies in touchdowns, but barely inside the top 5 in both yards and receptions. And those reception numbers are obviously low. He's only got 28 catches. And so that's the framework. You look at those numbers and you could very easily understand why he wouldn't get consideration over Brian Thomas, who has close to 600 yards, leads all rookies in that regard. Leads all rookies are tied for the lead with 5 touchdowns. You can see why Brian Thomas got there. You can see why Malik Neighbors, who has 55 catches already for 557 yards, maybe lagging a little bit behind in the touchdowns, but the volume is there, is making a lot of catches. And that's including all the drops that he has. And there's Marvin Harrison Jr., the first wide receiver taken off the board, the 4th overall pick, lagging a little bit behind. And so how do you grade what Marvin Harrison Jr. has done so far? How do you contextualize what we've seen? Well, while the statistics aren't necessarily there to match Malik Neighbors, to match Brian Thomas Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr. has had a huge impact on this team, has had a huge impact on this offense. Now, I would be the first to admit, I think all of us expected him. You draft him 4th overall. He was a slam dunk, no doubt, super hyped prospect. You thought he would just hit the ground running, and we're talking about Justin Jefferson production, Jamar Chase production, Jalen Waddle production, Devonta Smith production, just naming recent top wide receiver selections who, as rookies, put up some pretty good numbers. You were expecting, with all of the hype around Marvin Harrison Jr., that he would put up similar numbers. We're not there yet. Maybe he'll have a really good second half. But he is obviously not putting up those types of numbers. He is not overwhelming opposing defenses. But he is having an impact. He is a major cog in this offense. It is our go-to statistic here on the show. But the Cardinals are 5-0 when Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride are 1-2 in some way, either Maserati Marv 1 and Trey 2, or Trey 1 and Maserati Marv 2, in targets on this team. So when Marvin Harrison Jr. is a focal point of this offense, along with the other major target on this team, the Cardinals find offensive success. It is not necessarily the offensive output that we all anticipated in the early going. And so that's why it can be a little bit of a mixed bag. That's why it can be a little bit of a disappointment to see the way that he is playing so far. It can be a disappointment to only have the 28 catches. Look, 28 catches through 9 games, that's not good enough. That's a little over 3 catches a game. That's not what Marvin Harrison Jr. was brought here for. He only has 2 games this year where he's gone over 100 yards. Those are the same 2 games where he's gone above 75 yards. Last week, it was 2 for 34 against the Bears. Now, again, this is a team that was running the football extremely well. They didn't need to throw the ball a whole lot. No problem. They're winning football games. In Miami, when they needed to score, they needed to go up and down, they needed to keep pace. 6 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown. When they put the hurt on the Rams early in the season, 4 catches, 130 yards and 2 touchdowns. And so there are pockets here, right? The 5 catches for 64 yards in a loss to the Lions, 5 catches for 45 yards in a loss to the Commanders. There are pockets here where you start to feel like you're going to break out. But there has not been the consistency yet. There hasn't been a stretch of 3 or 4 games where the target share is there, the catches are there, the production is there, the touchdowns are there, and you start to feel like now he's arrived. Have maybe you felt it was the 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Rams, and if that's how you feel, I can't necessarily disagree with you, but has there been that breakout moment for Marvin Harrison Jr.? Has there been this stretch of games where you go, that's the number 4 overall pick? Now he's arrived. Now this offense is ready to, we'll continue our analogy from earlier in the show, hockey stick in the right direction. Because that's the next level of this offense. That's the next level of this team, is when they start to unlock more from Marvin Harrison Jr., when they unlock more from Trey McBride, when they're able to get more guys involved. That's the next step. And trust me, you have a rookie wide receiver. It takes some time to develop that chemistry with your quarterback. It is not overnight. Not everybody can be Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or Jalen Waddle or Devonta Smith or any of the names that you can invoke here about rookie wide receivers hitting the ground running in a big way. It takes time. This isn't to say that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a bust. This isn't to say that Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't going to have a long career here in Arizona. It just isn't there yet. It's just a little bit off. And so to tie it back in and to answer the question, how would we grade this season so far? I would say the Cardinals are successful in spite of their number 4 overall pick not being the player that I think we expected him to be. And he can still be that player. He just didn't hit the ground running the way we thought he would. You know what? Football's hard. It's a hard sport. Sports in general are hard. No 2 players are the same. No 2 teams are the same. No 2 situations are the same. And so you can talk about how good he is as a prospect compared to Jalen Waddle or Jefferson or Chase or Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, just naming other Ohio State wide receivers. You can try to play that comparison game, but he is a unique player. He is a unique talent, and his path to being a great in this league is going to be different than those who came before him, different than those who come after him. And so all you have to ask yourself is, do you feel like the arrow is trending in the right direction? Do you feel differently about the Cardinals making the pick here through the midway point than you did when they made the pick? And I think it would be foolish to be jumping off the bandwagon right now. Is it perfect? No. Would you have anticipated him to be the all-rookie midseason award winner at wide receiver? Yes. Worst case, he would be the honorable mention because somebody else also had a big first half. That would have been a very fair and reasonable expectation. He hasn't hit that yet. Okay. Has the 5 touchdowns. That leads all rookies. The reception numbers, you'd like to see those increase. That, I think, is going to come with time. That is going to come with the chemistry that he's going to develop with Kyler Murray as the season goes on. So if you're grading it, you're not giving it A. You're probably not giving it a B+. You're probably B- C. He's getting reps. He's contributing to this team. It's not hitting the ground running the way you expected it to. And you can see that in the way that the national media is looking at him. But as he goes, this offense goes. And as this offense goes, this team goes. And as this team goes, the results follow. And so he is shown in the early stages, he is an important part of what this team is doing. And he helps this team win football games. The numbers and production might not be there yet, but they will come. That stretch of back-to-back 100-yard games, that stretch of 6 or 7 games with a touchdown, that will come, and it might come very quickly. And when it does, that's when you're going to start to see this team take off. And with the schedule the way that it is in the second half, it could start this Sunday against the Jets. Coming up, we wrap up this edition of The Lunch Break. It's the leftovers, all the stories we didn't get to. We'll do it next. The Lunch Break, KDUS, AM 1060.
Catch the Doug Gottlieb Show weekdays from 1 to 3 p.m. right here on KDUS AM 1060 and online at KDUS1060.com.
If you're a skilled trade person with a journeyman card from a registered apprenticeship, we've got an exciting opportunity just for you from Gateway Community College. Introducing the Journeyman to Associate's degree program at Gateway, where your expertise earns you more than just a paycheck. Our credit for prior learning program allows you to turn your industry credentials into college credit, putting you on the fast track to earning an associate degree without starting from square one. To see if you qualify, visit gatewaycc.edu/journeyman. That's gatewaycc.edu/journeyman to get started. Gateway, a Maricopa Community College.
We're sitting down with our members age 60 plus from around the country to find out how Archwell Health is helping them live life to its fullest.
I feel like I can go forward because now I'm in good health.
I have a doctor who really cares and is truly interested in helping me live my best life.
What was my first impression when I walked in? I could sum that up in a 3-letter word. Wow.
Are you ready for a different kind of primary care in Phoenix? Visit archwellhealth.com to become a member today during Medicare annual enrollment and start living your best life better.
Neon City Festival takes over downtown Las Vegas with art, food, and free performances by Alice in Wonderland, Neon Trees, Russell Dickerson, 7 Lions, and more. November 22nd through the 24th. Visit neoncityfestival.com.
When you enter a place of business, you're owed a legal duty that the place of business is safe for you to shop in. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. If you suffered an injury at a place of business, our duty is to protect you after that harm. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
Exciting news from the Window Depot. Their brand new location is now open near Cave Creek and Bell Road. Discover the largest selection of vinyl windows, doors, cabinets, skylights, countertops, and more. Planning a remodel? Their experts are here to make your vision a reality with exclusive special order options and a wide selection of in-stock inventory available to go home today. For the best price and the biggest inventory, visit one of their 3 Valley locations or shop online at thewindowdepot.com. The Window Depot, more than a window store.
Every Monday night, check out Ray Adams as he hosts the Monday Night Golf and Lifestyle Show from 6 to 7 p.m. here on KDUS AM 1060.
Wrapping up this edition of The Lunch Break, KDUS AM 1060. We appreciate you making this show a part of your day. However, you may be listening to us. If you want to get in, last call, 480-864-1060 is the phone number. You can also join us on the YouTube side of things. Throw your comment in there to get your final thought in before we get out of here today on a Wednesday. And boy, has it felt like a Wednesday all day today. I woke up this morning, had some... You know what? It's the leftovers. We can go in any direction we want, so we're going to go here. I got up this morning. I take my daughter to school. Then I drive into the office. Had to make a little bit of a detour. Now, this might be I don't know how I should take this, Producer Dylan. You can just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if I should take this positively or negatively, or should maybe I not read into it at all. But getting married next year, okay? So my fiance calls me this morning and goes, hey, I forgot my engagement ring on the counter. Could you bring it to me at work? Now, her office is on the way in. Should I take offense, yay or nay? This is the first time she's done this, but she forgot the ring this morning. Now, this is fresh. This is brand new. We've been engaged for a couple of months now. Does she get a freebie? Does she get one? All right, producer Dylan says she gets one. So this morning I was a little late today because I had to go drop off the engagement ring. And I joked with her that I have not actually had the engagement ring since I proposed. So since I had it back, that I need to propose again in the parking lot, that I have to restart the whole process again today. She said, no, you can just drop it off and go on your merry way. You don't have to be weird about it. It was a fair response by her. So she gets one, but if she does it again, then maybe I should start to worry a little bit. All right. Well, I have until next October, so hopefully we don't have any more situations like that. So that's how my day started. I had to take a little bit of a detour here on the way to the office. I get to the office and I'm putting the show together, and I'll tell you, I'm getting pretty excited. The juices are starting to flow here on the show because I love baseball. There's no sport I love more than baseball. And I love the actual game of baseball, right? I'm watching Diamondbacks. I'm watching the Mets, obviously born and raised there, huge Mets fan. I'm watching other teams. I'm watching Quick Pitch every morning to catch up. Like, I love the sport of baseball. I love statistics. There's nothing I think I love more about the sport of baseball than the offseason, the rumors. You wake up and now it's like, well, this team is interested in Juan Soto, or watch out for the Padres when it comes to Alex Bregman. I'm just making stuff up here, but you just wake up and there's a new rumor, or, oh, you got to be careful. There's a couple of mystery teams in on this free agent. Love a good mystery team. Love a good contract negotiation. This stuff is just so fun because you are watching the only time of the year, and this is true in all the sports, but I just think in baseball, it really kind of feels true. All 30 teams feel like they have a chance. They're all competing to try to get better for 2025. They're working the phones for trades. They are talking to free agents. They are talking about player development. How can they get better in their analytics department, in their stats department, in their pitching lab, hitting lab, everything that they can do to get better. So I love this time of year. And so we got our first move, or one of our first moves of the offseason. And it's not a big one, but hey, we're going to talk about it here on the show. Kyle Hendricks signed a 1-year, $2.5 million deal with the Los Angeles Angels. The 34-year-old pitched for the Cubs last year and didn't pitch all that great. And the Los Angeles Angels, who I don't know what they are doing, probably just looking for somebody to eat innings in their rotation. That's a valuable commodity in baseball. Ask the Dodgers. Even though they won the World Series, they were running out of starters by the end of the year. It's why it is, to me, still a priority for the Arizona Diamondbacks to acquire some major league caliber depth for their rotation. They're not going to spend big money for Max Fried, for Corbin Burns, for Kikuchi. They're not going to spend that type of money. But they need to add major league caliber depth in their minor league system to be in Reno, to be ready to go in case an injury happens or they need to make a change or something. Because it is almost impossible in today's baseball, with how hard the guys throw, with how much spin the guys are putting on the baseball. Guys are throwing sinkers and sweepers, and they're putting so much torque on their elbow and their shoulder that it is almost a certainty that the rotation that you start the year with is not the rotation you're going to end the year with. And so the Angels, it's one move. It doesn't mean a whole lot, but I think it's a sign of you're seeing a lot of teams do this. And speaking of free agency, remember how in hour number one I talked about how Juan Soto was going to hold everything up? This is the quote from Scott Boras about Juan Soto's free agency. Quote, Scott Boras is just, the way he talks is just, it baffles me sometimes. Quote, due to the volume of interest and Juan's desire to hear from teams, I can't put a time frame on it, but it's going to be a very thorough process for him. He wants to meet people personally. He wants to talk with them. He wants to hear from them, end quote. That is your signal to just sit back, relax, grab a snack, grab a drink. We're going to be here for a while. We're not getting Juan Soto signing by Friday. We're not getting Juan Soto signing by Thanksgiving. This is going to, around Thanksgiving, I think things will heat up a little bit. December 1st kind of feels like a nice time for this to get done, but this is going to take a while. And when we're talking about somebody who is projected to get a contract in the range of $600 to $700 million, you're going to be thorough. You are going to make sure that you do your due diligence because you're going to be signing up and the deal will probably have opt-outs in it. I get that. But you more than likely are going to be committing for a decade plus and paying over $500 million plus for a player. You're going to take your time. And it just, I keep going back to this place that this is going to slow everything down. It's going to slow everything to a halt. It's going to make everything slower in free agency. And so we'll see we'll see how long it takes and what the impact looks like for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who, if you missed anything from earlier in the week, we did a wish list. I believe it was on Monday we did this, where maybe it was at the end of last week. Either way, it's on our YouTube channel. We put it up as a YouTube video over there, the wish list for the Diamondbacks, what positions they need to prioritize. And they need a DH and they need a first baseman and they probably need a fourth outfielder. And in order to do that, they're going to have to try to thaw out a market that is being propped up or being held up by Juan Soto. So we'll see what they are able to do. The leftovers are a place where we get to all the things that we didn't get to, but it's also a place to get to things that happen maybe during a break. And I just saw potentially one of the best quotes of the year so far. And it's late in the process, right? It's October. It's November. So this is a late entry for a quote of the year. But former Giants defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale, is now over at Michigan. And I guess he was asked about his coaching future at Michigan, right? Wink's been an NFL coach for a really long time. There were thoughts of him potentially maybe getting some head coaching interviews. The defensive coordinator role for him in New York didn't necessarily work out. So he leaves and he goes to Michigan. And so he was asked about his future, right? Does he see himself being in Michigan for a long time? I don't know what the spirit of the question was, but he's asked about his coaching future. And he talked about how much he loved being there and loves the players, loves the coaches, just loves everything. And then he adds this, quote, "It's a lot better than being in some places that are 2-7, end quote. Wink Martindale telling us how he really feels about the New York Giants. And there was some animosity at the end, right? It was not good at the end. It's the reason why he left. But you can tell it still bothers him. You can tell that he's still not happy with the way things went there. He's not thrilled with the messaging that came out about whose fault it was and who's to blame for it. And he's still holding a grudge. So I got to respect somebody who's still holding a grudge. Getting paid by the Giants, getting paid by the University of Michigan, still coaching football, getting paid to do it, and yet he is still holding a grudge. He is still not happy with the New York Giants, and he is taking a shot at the New York Giants with their 2-7 start to the year. And you know what? It's not like Michigan's having that great of a year, but better year than the Giants are having. So you know what, Wink Martindale, you take your shots. I appreciate the pettiness. I'm a fan of the pettiness when it's like this. It's not really that mean. It's just some fun, spirited conversations and back and forth. But you can tell that still bothers him, man. It was a ugly ending there in New York, and it's clearly not going well in the post-Wink Martindale era. But I'm sure Wink feels like he's better off. He feels like he's happy where he's at, and he's not dealing with a 2-7 football team that's going in the wrong direction. Now, we have to make a decision here on the show. And this will probably be the last story that we get to. It's not really a story, the last topic that we'll get to here on the show. Because we have to make a decision. The Schubert 6 we do on Fridays. We make our 6 picks. I had a buddy text me that he tailed the picks and he felt pretty good. We had a pretty good week last week. So shout out to my guy Chris who followed my picks. We have to decide if we're going to take Thursday night. And we have to decide probably pretty early in the day tomorrow on the show. Now, we've got the full 2 hours. I'm not going to make a pick here to close the show. But this is one of the more exciting Thursday night games that we're going to have in a long time. It's Bengals-Ravens. The Bengals are 6.5-point favorites. And I'll tell you, I'm considering it. I'll tell you, I'm thinking about it. I am thinking about making a play in this game. Now, there are two things stopping me from making this play. Thing number one is it's Thursday night. And Thursday night games are tough. Thursday nights have not been kind to us here on the show. Thursday nights have not been a winning formula for the Schubert Six. So that's thing number one. Thing number two that is concerning me about picking Thursday, even though I want to, even though there's a pick that is just staring me in the face in this game. Like it is so obvious the play that I want to make. And I wouldn't put, I'm going to be a coward and I would put like 1 or 2 points on it. But the other part of it is the Ravens, I have not gotten a feel for. I was on them early. They were good to me. I continued to be on them. They blew up for me in a big way. I then countered that by going against them because I no longer trusted them. And then they immediately broke my heart with what they did to the Denver Broncos last week. So now they feel like one of those teams that I don't have a good gauge on. So they have to be on the do not bet list. And look, we're trying to pick winners. We're picking 6 games every week. It's not easy to make these selections, I'll tell you. Today's the day where I start looking. We start previewing the Cardinals' opponents. I start looking for games. I start trying to put together the math of which teams we're going to take for the Schubert Six. And I'm here to tell you right now, I want to make a play for Thursday. I'm not going to do so here on the show. I'm going to, you know what? All good decisions in life, you should sleep on. You need a little bit of time. Because I almost, after saying I wasn't going to do it, I almost locked it in 3-point play on a team. I almost did it. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to see if the number changes between now and tomorrow. I'm going to consult some friends. I'm going to consult some material. I'm going to do some more research into this game. And then if I feel as confident as I do right now in this moment, because I am chomping at the bit to play a Thursday game and for us to have a winner on a Thursday. So we can go into Friday feeling good, already have some points in the bank when we do the segment. If I still feel the same way tomorrow as I do today, now, Producer Dylan, you're not going to be here. You'll be back on Friday. So you'll know on Friday's show whether or not we made the pick. But there's a chance that I make a play tomorrow. If I wake up and I feel the same way that I feel about this team right now, especially if the number moves in the direction that I would like it to move, we're going to be all over this game. Because this feels like just a missed opportunity. And I'm trying not to give away where I'm leaning, but to just get one game on the board and to take one pick out of play would be fantastic. Would be a fantastic way to start week 10 of the NFL slate before we have to make some tough decisions on Friday. If you missed anything here on the show, you have the opportunity to go back and listen to it in the podcast feed. Just search The Lunch Break wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. It's all there for you. Both hours of the show are up there so you can catch anything that you missed. You also have the video version on YouTube if you are so inclined to do so. And then we chop up the important segments from the show, and you have short little videos up there as well that you can listen to. So KDUS AM 1060 on YouTube, KDUS AM 1060 on Twitter, and then again, the podcast feed for The Lunch Break if you want to catch anything that you missed here. We appreciate you joining us here today on your lunch break during our lunch break. Everybody, make it a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. See you.
AM 1060 KDUS.